can't stop right now!
My heart, it hurts.
Stop! Stop, Captain, please. Stop! Holy Gaia, that's enough. Stop! Stop, holy Gaia.
Everybody's a tree. I knew I'd do it.
I can't let you do that, Captain.
Anybody else want to go green?
Huh?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Your punk asses. I'm going back up. Don't summon me again unless you're ready for that pain. Peace, dickholes.
The power is mine, bitches.
Alright, so back on our nostalgic deep dives, we're gonna be looking at the Dinosaurs sitcom. Prehistoric but ahead of its time, nostalgia trip by Nerdwire. This is one of the ones we saw in one of the, I think it was the Disney breakdowns, where this was one of the earlier shows. They used like animatronics and puppets and everything, but they had like the crazy dark ending where like the world fucking ends. And it's like the father of the dinosaurs' fault or some shit. It's wild. But I'm gonna take a quick look at the deep dive here, and then we'll go from there. Boom, boom, boom.
Just remember the catchphrases and animatronics, with maybe some details here and there. But I'm here to tell you, this almost 30-year-old show is more timely than ever. What's up, guys? I'm Chris Carr, and on today's nostalgia trip, we're taking it all the way back to Dinosaurs, a show with a prehistoric setting that was way ahead of its time.
Like everything at this point is just so
Before we get
CGI'd and animated to death that like there's nothing. Well, I think the last when they did what Dark Crystals was like the last one where they really used like animatronics again and everything and puppets.
Middle Jurassic,
But you just don't see that type of, I wouldn't say attention to detail, because it's not to say that like those CGI artists aren't doing a lot of work in that case, but like the attention to, I guess, I can't even say realism, because they're trying to do like the CGI realism, which is still, I don't know. There's something about like the handcrafted like liveness of the actual puppet.
I want to give a shout
live action versus computer generated.
out to all of our donors on Patreon, especially our super nerd sponsor of the day, Charles Scheid. Thanks to folks like Charles, we get to keep running down memory lane with y'all with the greatest, sometimes weirdest hits of yesteryear. So thanks! If you want to pitch in, head on over to our Patreon page and see if a donation tier works for you. We'll thank you with shout-outs, swag, behind-the-scenes looks, and more. If merch is more your speed, click that link to TeePublic in this video's description. They have shirts for any and all fandoms, and they're cozy AF. Perfect for wearing while you social distance. Lastly, if you want to watch along with me, be sure to check out Dinosaurs on Amazon. Now, on to the source. That sounds kind of gross. Yeah, we're going with it. Set in prehistoric Pangea, Dinosaur centers on the Sinclair family. Tree pusher for the We Say So company, Earl, his wife Fran, and their 3 children, Robbie, Charlene, and baby Sinclair. Jim Henson had conceived the concept of a sitcom about a working-class dinosaur family back in 1988. But his idea was deemed too crazy. That is, until a weird little show called The Simpsons was wildly successful. Sadly, Henson passed away before he could see his concept come to fruition, hence the series being dedicated to Jim. A few of the characters in the series get their names from petroleum corporations. Earl's mother-in-law is Ethel Phillips, his best friend is Roy Hess, his boss Bradley Peter Richfield goes by BP, and the Sinclairs, of course, get their surname from Sinclair Oil Corporation, whose logo is a dinosaur. The patriarch of the Sinclairs, Earl, is your classic sitcom dad. He loves a good flannel, he's a working man, and like most characters from sitcoms from the 50s to the mid-90s, darn it, he expects a hot meal on the table after a long day of tree pushing. Earl is a traditionalist, who's often stuck in his ways simply because that's how things have always been done, and desperately seeks the approval of his boss, Mr. Richfield. 1, because he admires him, and 2, because he fears he'll eat him. It's really mostly 2. Earl, he's a triceratops. He eats veggies. Stop worrying, man. Earl is played by Stuart Pankin, who I assure you know, even if you don't remember that name. Stuart has guest starred in over 300 television shows, provided voices for characters in cartoons like Animaniacs, Batman, Superman, Aladdin, Lilo and Stitch, and Darkwing Duck. He was in Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, and of course, was Commander Plank in the Xenon movies. The role was originally offered to Jim Belushi, who turned it down to pursue movies. I'm super thankful. I think Stewart does a fantastic job, and I can't imagine a courting a Jim handling the series' final monologue with such nuance. Fun fact, Earl almost always sighs whenever he walks across a room. This allowed the puppeteer inside him to see where he was going through Earl's open mouth. Mom Fran is a homemaker who challenges Earl's parenting style and some of the social injustices of the time, encouraging her kids to try their best and to ask questions. She typically serves as a straight character among all the shenanigans and has more grounded storylines, like being overwhelmed by her family or feeling unfulfilled and unappreciated. She's played by Jessica Walters of Arrested Development and Archer fame, and it is bananas to hear her playing nice and progressive.
We've lost the art of conversation. Earl, tell me about your day.
I don't wanna.
At least ask your children what happened in school today.
I think it's downright eerie. Robbie, the eldest Sinclair child, is pretty woke for a teenage dinosaur. He questions the traditions and outdated ideology that dinos are living by, such as throwing your elders into the tar pit when they turn 72. Why not just see how long they live? But like many teenagers, Robbie can be pretty stupid when it comes to girls, and a lot of his choices are motivated by getting some tail. Charlene, the middle child, somehow goes from like 12 to 16 in a season. I'm assuming it's because her dating at the age of 12 ooged out viewers. Who knows? Charlene fills the role of your typical 90s teenage girl. She cares what her peers think. She loves shopping, and she worries that applying herself in school will make her lame. What's really cool about this character design is that Charlene is a Protoceratops. These dinos had large neck frills, which they display to impress other members of the species. So this ties into Charlene always wearing bold sweaters, necklaces, and earrings. It's a play on the neck frill. Charlene has a whole episode about puberty that's all about comparing your body to what's presented in media and the double standard in how fathers treat their daughters versus their sons when it comes to dating. It also establishes that tails are the titties of the dinosaur. The breakout character, and who I think first comes to mind when you think of dinosaurs, Baby Sinclair, is, well, the baby. Gotta love him. This little dude was voiced by Kevin Clash, who you'll recognize as the voice of Elmo.
Not the mama, not the mama, not the
I
mama.
really wish you'd grow out of this.
If you were a kid when the show came out, you constantly yelled, "Not the mama," and sang, "I'm the baby, gotta love me," until your parents wanted to murder you. A personal favorite character for me on this rewatch was DNN news anchor Howard Hand Up Me, with his surname telling you exactly what he is, one of the hand puppets used on the show. If I'm being perfectly honest, you guys, I didn't remember a lot of details from this one. I was really little when it came out. I remember that my whole family loved it. I could recall the plot of a handful of episodes, and knew Baby Sinclair was perfect. So revisiting this was an amazing trip down memory lane for me. I definitely didn't catch how smart these television and historical references were. From talking about the climate on Pangaea, to Robbie's school going up against those kids from Mesopotamia, to knocking television at just about every turn. This had some seriously smart writing, and they didn't pull punches. They took jabs at their own network. They made Scientology jokes. The episode I remember, and it seems to stick with a lot of my friends as well, was the steroids episode. In Steroids to Heaven, Robbie wants to impress this female at school he likes, Caroline. Caroline seems to only have eyes for big hulking dino Dolph, and Robbie isn't the buffest guy around. His friend, bad boy with a heart of gold Spike, tells Robbie that other guys, like Dolph, have an unfair advantage because they use thornoids to enhance their muscles. Spike sounds vaguely familiar. Why do I know that voice? Why do I know that voice? Okay, checking Spike Dinosaurs. Holy butts, it's Christopher Maloney? Gene? Detective Stabler? Okay, focus, car. Robbie decides that the reasonable thing to do is break into Dolph's locker and steal his roids for himself. They're super creepy and they want to be eaten. Robbie gets jacked, son! But we all know that the roids make you rage, and sweet boy Robbie becomes a total douche nozzle. He's mean to his dad. He throws a sink. He pushes Caroline. Another side effect of the thornoids is that you grow spikes. But when his friend Spike confronts him, Robbie Spikes get stuck in a locker, and Spike waits it out with Robbie so that he can detox the roids and stop being such a boner fart. There were a lot of other episodes that on this rewatch really blew me away. I'm honestly surprised my parents let me watch this show. Then again, it was smart and funny and the jokes were way above my stupid toddler brain, so I get it. A particular standout for me was I Never Ate for My Father. This episode is essentially an exploration of when teens start experimenting, and is dripping with references to both exploring sexuality and dabbling with drugs. At this point in the dino timeline, it's considered deviant behavior to be an herbivore, as opposed to the traditional carnivore. First of all, this is brilliant because Robbie is a hypsilophodon, a dinosaur that was thought to be an herbivore or potentially an omnivore. Fran and Earl are both dinosaurs that were strictly carnivores. Second, this allows the show to be honest with its characters about taboo subjects. Robbie is veg-curious. Earl dabbled with lettuce back in the day, yet is exhibiting herbophobic behavior. Sure, things take a wacky turn when the Sinclairs get eaten and have to get their devourer to upchuck them by sharing a tender father-son moment, but the hidden topics of this episode still play well today. It's okay if you're curious, as long as you're safe. Speaking of safe practices, there's a sex ed episode! The episode Dirty Dancing, which didn't air until the series went into syndication, had it all. Wet dreams, dino boners in the form of dance-crazed feet, mating rituals, and of course, the always awkward, the talk with your parents. Robbie starts having mating dance dreams, and then can't seem to control his urge to perform the mating dance when he's around his crush Caroline. Fran is mortified that the school doesn't teach kids about the mating dance, and instead takes the stance my school did.
The mating dance is the last thing we should be teaching kids. This school has always operated under the guiding principle that if we don't teach it, they won't do it.
Fran takes matters into her own hands, and to Robbie's horror, teaches his class about the mating dance with charts, a naval video, and an apparently horrifying depiction of untreated mating dance-related injuries. It's like how my high school wouldn't teach us sex ed, but instead made us watch a very graphic STD slideshow to try and scare us away from touching each other's swimsuit areas. Spoiler alert, it did not work. Robbie still has those urges, and while the mating dance is best when performed in a monogamous relationship, preferably marriage, Spike suggests Robbie come with him to a dance hall where he can pay to perform. This children's show had sex workers!
Oh my God.
Robbie goes so his feet won't explode, but decides that he isn't ready for this. Earl finds him, and he agrees. While Robbie's body thinks it's ready, Robbie isn't ready for the emotions that tie into the dance. I really loved this moment with Earl. He earnestly explains that he had to figure out things on his own, and that he and Fran want to be different with Robbie. They want to be open and honest, and answer his questions the best they can so that he doesn't make irresponsible choices that could hurt him or throw his life off track. It's a really great parenting moment for Earl. But as I mentioned, Earl isn't the most progressive guy. Take the most bananas episode of the series, What Sexual Harassment. Again, this episode didn't pop up until syndication, and it is so understandable why. Fran's best friend Monica needs a job, so she comes to work at We Say So as a tree pusher with Earl. She's the first female ever hired. And just as she starts to work there, another employee, Al Harris, aka Sexual Harris, invents the double entendre. He lays the lines on thick with Monica, who is not having any of it from her skeevy supervisor. When Monica calls him out and says she isn't interested or happy with how she's being treated, Harris fires her. But Monica is one tough Bronto, and she decides to sue the We Say So company for how she's been treated, leading to a trial to determine what Al Sexual Harris meant. This episode doesn't even try to dance around sexual harassment. The dinosaur lawyers accuse Monica of being a former prostitute just to throw the word prostitute out. They ask her what she was wearing. They imply she was asking for it. They push this as far as they can. In the end, Monica doesn't get her job back, and Al suffers no consequences whatsoever.
That's crazy.
Because Charlene saw Monica stand up to these males, she gets inspired to stand up to the boys at school and show off her love of astronomy, even musing about becoming the first female astronomer. Charlene says that it shouldn't take long to get males to treat females like equals. And I laughed because this line was uttered 30 years ago to point out how archaic sexism is by presenting it from the perspective of literal dinosaurs. And oh my God, look at us now. It's so depressing.
We're an advanced society. How long could this possibly take?
The show wasn't afraid to talk about real-world issues thinly veiled under the pretense of dino life. They often tackled these more taboo subjects because, well, they could. The series was co-created by...
I would never have guessed that the show was going into this deep of social stigmas. I mean, sex ed, all that. I get the connotations, but that's wild. The mating dance. But I guess they kind of did the same stuff with like, was that Happy Feet? Is literally like the same thing. And they made like, what, 2 or 3 of those.
Michael Jacobs. And again, this was a dude who was a 90s staple. Jacobs produced Boy Meets World and The Torkelsons, so he loved a good, very special episode and heart-to-heart learning moment. With these puppets, though, he could really push the envelope, and that's what the network wanted. Jacobs said, quote, ABC wanted us to take shots at these subjects because it made a lot of noise and got people talking. After the initial success of the show, they pretty much left us alone, especially after the baby became a hit. As long as the baby hit his father over the head with a pot, we could use that to hide anything. And clearly they did. When it came to the finale, though, the suits were not as thrilled with what the creative team had landed on, ushering in the Ice Age and suggesting the series comes to an end thanks to an extinction-level event.
Yeah.
The president of ABC at the time, Ted Harbert, wondered how Jacobs could even think he could get away with killing the entire cast of his show. Jacobs simply said, "Well, Ted, it's not the cast we're trying to destroy. It's the entire world. My source for doing this is history." Adding, "When you do a show about dinosaurs, you always have the extinction card in your pocket." Jacob said, "We felt the metaphor in the episode had to be that we, as humans, may be utterly unaware of what will come to get us if we're not vigilant." This haunting ending is probably the most talked about thing that came from the show. What happens is that thanks to some more We Say So Co. plants being built, a swamp that bunch beetles use for mating is paved over, leading to the plants the beetles consume to overgrow and become a menace. We Say So, with Earl as their task force leader, chooses to poison the plants. The poison proves too effective, and they end up poisoning and killing every plant on Earth. Well, what do you do when Mother Nature is being finicky? Start bombing volcanoes to give Mother Nature the bird. Turns out, this was not the right move. All the ash and destruction leads to the Earth not being able to get any sunlight, and temperatures drop to insane degrees. When Earl tries to get his boss to understand the ramifications of what they've done, he simply counts his piles of money and calls the consequences to come a fourth quarter problem. As the Sinclair family huddles up in their home, trying to keep warm, baby Sinclair asks his father what's going to become of them. Earl tries to comfort his family. He says the dinos his age should have taken better care of the planet for their kids. But they didn't. And they should have, since this is the only home they've got. Surely, though, they'll be fine. Dinosaurs have been around for thousands of years. They won't just disappear. The series ends with DNN reporter Howard saying conditions won't improve for thousands of years, and bids the audience goodbye. We take one last look at the Sinclair home getting covered in falling snow, and the final credits roll. The finale feels pretty eerie to watch given the situation we're in right now. This story ending because of the hubris of a populace that thinks they'll be around forever. And you know what? That bleak ending makes sense because this was an honest show that just happened to have giant animatronic dinosaurs and puppets. The writing always addressed real-world issues that needed to be discussed then, and still need to be talked about now. The series came to an end after 4 seasons, partially due to deteriorating ratings and largely because of the cost of keeping those dinos running. There were plans to do a follow-up movie, but thanks to the failing ratings, the film was scrapped. I'm kind of torn by the idea of a movie. I want it, and I don't. I want to revisit these characters again, but I also think that bleak ending was perfect because of its honesty. So I guess I'll just have to settle on getting my dinosaurs fixed by watching the series on repeat on Amazon. Ooh, and apparently there's a board game by Milton Bradley. Brett, you better buy it for me. I deserve this game. We are going through an existential crisis, and you keep assigning me shows about disease, trauma, friendship, and annihilation. Buy me this game, Brett. Buy it for me, you goddamn monster. I am so happy I got to rewatch the series. But hey, this is all just how I feel about dinosaurs. What did you think of the series? Do you even remember it? Hit me up with your hot takes on their icy end in the comments below. And be sure to let me know what shows you want us to revisit next. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so we can keep the conversation going. Thanks again to everyone on Patreon, TeePublic, and all of you who came on this weird, strange trip with me. We'll catch you at the next stop. See you, Space Cowboy.
Oh, come on, and you ended with Space Cowboy? What? Do you know me? What is happening? Yes, that was Nerd Wire, the dinosaur sitcom, prehistoric but ahead of its time. Yeah, like I said, I've seen some of the show, especially like a lot of the baby, a lot of the main portions of like the Not the Mama skit and everything. But I have, like I said, we had gone over one of the ending and everything with that when we went through, I think, Disney's Rise and Fall or whatnot. So yeah, that's a crazy ending to go through. I mean, it makes sense with like the dinosaurs, but I mean, you could at least made it like a meteor hit the world, not them like. I mean, I guess yeah, it made it like socially aware and everything in that sense, and try to send a message in that regard. But it just seems so out of left field. I mean, that show did cover a lot of topics, but that seems like that's the darkest it ever got, right there at the end. So a very bittersweet end in that regard, but lovely video there. Hello again, YouTube. We are back with another nostalgic deep dive. We're taking it back again with one of my like really OG like cartoons. Like this is one of the first, like I want to say outside like Looney Tunes and whatnot, especially as far as like a plot driven cartoon goes. Cartoons that I really peaked this and like Transformers. I want to say the OG Transformers were like one of the first few cartoons, and obviously like Scooby-Doo, Pup Named Scooby-Doo, all that. We'll get into those eventually, but this right here, and it was still one of my favorites from the band, and I think it's mainly to do with like the opening was just so fucking fire, but I think I also love the show as well as a kid. So this one here is Captain Planet cartoon Explored, a retrospective into 90s animated world of environmental crusader by Marvelous Videos. So let's take a look see here. Let's take a look see.
Powers combined.
I'm Captain Planet.
Glad to see.
Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan. If you were a kid who watched a lot of animated television series in the 90s, then there is a good possibility that you came across Captain Planet, the superhero who wanted to take pollution down to zero. This unique hero was created as the central character for an educational show that has today become a cult classic. The show stands out thanks to the various themes it explored, and many fans believe that it's a shame that the show faded into obscurity. However, today, through our episode, we will be exploring the entire story of Captain Planet and the show that it could have been. So strap in for all things Ted Turner and Captain Planet, for you are in for a fun ride. But before we get into our explanation, we do just have one very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is just one small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, let's begin.
That like and subscribe button.
How was the show conceptualized? In the early 1990s, amid the vast landscape of colorful cartoons and stellar superheroes, there emerged an unlikely hero.
It's just something about that, like that 90s aesthetic, like this Dark Crystal, He-Man and whatnot, like that. I don't know, it's something with like, I guess the saturation of it and everything that just gives it just such a, I don't know if it's just a nostalgic feeling, but it gives it such a classic feeling, I guess.
Vast landscape of colorful cartoons and stellar superheroes, there emerged an unlikely hero, one with a bright green mullet and a deep concern for the environment. Captain Planet, the eco-conscious superhero, was the brainchild of executive producer Barbara Pyle and producer Nicholas Boxer, visionaries who wanted to craft something that was much more than just an entertaining show. They aimed to create a movement, something that would be a call to action for generations to come, especially as far as the environment was concerned. The visionary minds behind the show, apart from the eco-conscious media mogul Ted Turner himself, were Barbara Pyle and Nicholas Boxer, seasoned producers of documentaries on global social issues. They embarked on a mission to educate and inspire the masses, especially young people, by making critical global issues entertaining. They envisioned a show that would seamlessly blend entertainment with environmental education, targeting not just children, but also their parents and grandparents. The goal was undoubtedly ambitious, since they set out to prepare an entire generation to be vocal advocates for the planet. Inspired by reports like the Global 2000 report to the president, Pyle and Boxer wanted to infuse real environmental issues into the show's fantastical plotlines. This is not your regular superhero show with imaginative villains or alternate worlds. No, they didn't invent problems for Captain Planet to solve. Instead, they drew from the genuine challenges that our planet faced. Thus, Captain Planet emerged as the embodiment of their dedication, a green-haired superhero who could only be summoned by a group of diverse, economically conscious teenagers, the Planeteers. Notably, it was Ted Turner himself who suggested that the main character be named Captain Planet, and the rest, as they say, is history. The show thus tackled real issues, set in a fantastical animated world.
No, this was like, yeah, so they really were like, not even just like pollution, everything, like they were going like after specific things, like talking about corporations and like their pollution and everything. All of their villains are, you know, either pollution based or like, you know, do like, you know, the next villain of the day thing, but like either purposely polluting water and stuff like that, or doing things that like purposely cause off runoff and whatnot, or deforestation, stuff like that, spread wildfires, like very crazy, like realistic concepts. Like they're almost like the Planeteers and everything are like right, there's like civil servants as far as like firefighters and everything, and then like the Planeteers are like right above this as far as like actual power level, I feel like, because aside from like their power rings that, you know, I mean, they can like do some crazy stuff with it, but like they are just like on like more, in certain cases, more grounded situations versus like your average superhero show goes out of its way to make it more fantastic and more, you know, not otherworldly, but, you know, put you in a situation where it's, you know, it wouldn't necessarily happen in the real world. So that's working, but let's continue there.
And every episode of Captain Planet was rooted in a real issue from a real culture somewhere around the world. Just for this variety, the show is a must-watch. While the show's villains were definitely exaggerated, because otherwise there'd be no fun watching it, their plans were based on real environmental threats. For instance, in the episode Two Futures, the villainous Hoggish Greedley's plot to exploit global warming by burning coal and fossil fuels was a chilling reflection on the real-world concerns outlined in the 1980 Global 2000 report to the president. The show was meant to hold a mirror to reality and society, and they managed to do it brilliantly in a child-friendly medium. Pyle and Boxer hit the concept of educating through entertainment right on the nose. Even though they faced the challenge of integrating complex environmental concepts seamlessly into engaging storytelling, they also aimed to create a cross-generational experience. The show was not just made for kids. Children would learn about environmental responsibility, and parents and even grandparents would hopefully grasp the message as well, as they watched all together with their kids. To achieve this, they made sure that Captain Planet only intervened when the Planeteers had identified the problem and devised their solution. This approach emphasized teamwork and problem solving, imparting valuable lessons alongside the obvious entertainment of taking down the bad guys. Let us now focus on Captain Planet himself. He was definitely not your run-of-the-mill superhero. He was definitely unique, both in the way that he looked and what he fought for as well. However, what truly set Captain Planet apart was not just his green mullet or even his ability to combat pollution. It was in fact that he represented the power of teamwork, unity, and the understanding that environmental issues were everyone's concern. He was not a distant
It's like the power is yours. It's like that is his tagline of like straight up. Like it's that they were always trying to push this like self-assurance on, you know, how you can, you know, every little thing counts. You don't have to be a planet. You can be one too. We're the Planeteers. You could be one too. Cause saving our planet is the thing to do. Like, it's so corny in writing, but it's so beautiful.
all-powerful hero, but a reflection on the collective efforts of the young and conscious Planeteers. Pyle and Boxer's innovative approach challenged the traditional macho superhero archetype, creating a character that instead relied on others and was not afraid to ask for help, while also promoting a collaboration of togetherness. And now that we're on the subject, we have to talk about the young Planeteers themselves. They might not be as well known as the central green-haired Captain Planet, but as far as the show is concerned, they are equally as important, if not more. The Planeteers, representing Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, and Heart, were more than just fictional characters. They were inspired by real-life individuals who made significant contributions to the environmental movement back in the day. Linka, the wind element bearer, drew inspiration from German Green Party co-founder Petra Kelly. G, the water element bearer, was modeled after Malaysian human rights advocate Chi Yok Ling. Fiery Wheeler was a bit of an everyman, a cross between Pyle's closest buddy from New York and her father. Polino Paikan, the leader of the Kayapo people and one of the most well-known indigenous protectors of the Amazon rainforest, served as the inspiration for Mati, the Planeteer who wielded the power of the heart. Lastly, the one who ruled the earth element, Kwame, was a fusion of several young people that Pyle had met since producing environmental documentaries. Two of them were from Zimbabwe and one of them from Ghana. Thus, each character had a tangible connection to a real environmental advocate, making them relatable and even inspiring for the viewers. Considering that this show had set out to tackle something like the climate issue, which is not exactly agreed upon by many people all across the board, it was inevitable that there was a chance that the show would not be well received. However, despite initial skepticism, Captain Planet became the enduring symbol of environmental awareness. While attempts to translate the series into a movie has faced its own hurdles, the show's core message remains powerful to this day. The power to change the world lies within each and every one of us. Captain Planet and the Planeteers taught us that environmental protection is a responsibility that we all share, and it's a lesson that continues to inspire generations, reminding us that the real power to protect our planet rests in our hands.
Once a rainforest is gone, it's gone forever. I better get this medicine plant back to where it's needed.
What was the show all about? Now that we know about the conceptualization behind the show, let us dive deeper into the plots and characters that graced our television screens. This groundbreaking animated series took the world by storm, capturing the hearts and minds of children and adults alike. It was undoubtedly the era of Captain Planet and the Planeteers. It instantly became a beacon of environmental awareness, teaching an entire generation about the importance of protecting our planet. In this segment, we will delve into the captivating world of the Planeteers, exploring the plot, the characters, and the first 10 episodes that set the stage for this iconic show. Our story begins with Gaia, the spirit of the Earth, who senses the growing threat of pollution and environmental destruction. To combat this menace, she selects 5 special young individuals from various different corners of the globe and bestows each of them with a magical ring representing one of the 5 elements: earth, fire, wind, water, and heart. When combined, these rings summon the ultimate eco-hero, Captain Planet. The first episode, titled A Hero for Earth, introduced us to the courageous young Planeteers: Kwame from Africa, Wheeler from North America, Linka from Eastern Europe, G from Asia, and Mati from South America. Together, they embarked on thrilling adventures to protect the environment and battle the eco-villains threatening our planet. In this inaugural episode, the Planeteers confront the villainous hoggish greed.
Who's your favorite Planeteer, though? All right, come on. Everybody gives Monty a hard time because everybody's like, what is heart? Yeah. But Monty is literally the heart of the team, you know, the heart of the land, of the love of nature, and, you know, the actual animals that live amongst it and everything. Come on. You can't be hating on Monty like that. That being said, as far as which actual power ring, I would have to say it would have to be either, I think, wind or fire. Wheeler I didn't care too much for. He was just like, you know, the everyman American, whatever. So he was always hot-headed and like gung-ho for shit and got himself into like wildness. But again, we're talking power ring. Now if we're talking character-wise, you know, you gotta go Monty, come on.
Reedley, a greedy businessman who is polluting the waters. With teamwork and determination, they managed to summon Captain Planet for the very first time, showcasing their combined powers and determination to save the Earth. And that, ladies and gentlemen,
can't pick Captain Planet. It's gotta be one of the Planeteers.
Is how the green-haired hero, Captain Planet, was brought to life. Now, before we move any forward, here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that the voice of Captain Planet was originally provided by famous actor Tom Cruise? Well, for the first 6 episodes anyway.
Really?
His charismatic voice added depth to the character, making Captain Planet even more memorable for the audience. However, he left the cast after these 6 episodes, so David Coburn took over the role, and he even re-recorded Tom Cruise's episodes. Coming back to the story, as the series progressed, the Planeteers...
Let's see if I can find those Tom Cruise's episodes. That's crazy, actually.
Faced a rogues gallery of eco-villains, each with their own nefarious plan to exploit the Earth's resources and take them for themselves. From the cunning Dr. Blight, whose experiments threaten the balance of nature, to Loot and Plunder, a ruthless poacher endangering wildlife, the villains provided exciting challenges for the young heroes, all while teaching them the various threats to the planet that existed in the real world. Coming to the second episode now, titled Last of Her Kind, the Planeteers encountered Sly Sludge, a villainous industrialist responsible for toxic waste dumping. This episode not only highlighted the dangers of pollution, but also emphasized the importance of preserving endangered species, focusing on the plight of a rare golden eagle. These first few episodes definitely set the tone, as each episode moving forward of a rare golden eagle. These first few episodes definitely set the tone, as each episode
that boy looked upset,
focusing on the plight of a rare golden eagle. These first
look at that. Oh god. He's like, hey yo, when I get up there, that's, oh god.
2 episodes definitely set the tone, as each episode moving forward addresses a unique environmental issue in a heartwarming and intelligent manner. The third episode, Wheeler's Arc, took a rather unique twist by exploring the power of compassion and responsibility. When Wheeler discovered a dolphin caught in an oil spill, he takes it upon himself to nurse the creature back to health, demonstrating the impact of individual actions on environmental conservation. Storylines such as these encourage children to do their bit to make the world a better place. Further, in the episode titled The Dead Seas, the Planeteers faced verminous scum, a villainous spreading pollution and disease. This episode shed light on fragile marine ecosystems, emphasizing the importance for clean oceans for the survival of various species, including humans. Now, let's talk about another interesting fact. Did you know that the show featured several celebrity guest voices? Stars like Whoopi Goldberg, Martin Sheen, and Meg Ryan lent their talents to the series, adding to its allure and popularity, and also pulling in an adult audience as well. As the series continued, the Planeteers confronted even more environmental issues, such as deforestation, climate change, and animal cruelty, educating the audience about these vital environmental concerns in an engaging, accessible, and friendly manner. One of the most memorable episodes within the first 10 was easily the one titled Don't Drink the Water, when the Planeteers faced Duke Nukem, a radioactive villain contaminating the local water supply. This episode not only heightened the importance of clean drinking water, but also underscored the dangers of nuclear pollution, leaving a lasting impression on young viewers. As the show progressed, it inspired action and environmental initiatives from around the world. Viewers were not only entertained, but also motivated to make positive changes in their own communities. Captain Planet and the Planeteers was more than just an animated series. It was a movement. It was a call to action. And
I gotta get one of those Planeteer shirts.
it was one that resonated with millions, encouraging them to become Earth's protectors in their own right. Through its compelling characters, engaging storylines, and valuable life lessons, the show left an indelible mark on the hearts of all those who watched it, ensuring that the legacy of Captain Planet and the Planeteers lives on, reminding us all that the power is ours to create a sustainable and harmonious world. Marvelous verdict. Now comes time for our marvelous verdict. Is this show worth watching today? Will it excite you the same way it did when you were a child way back in the 90s? Will young kids today watch it with the same enthusiasm that we did? Well, these are a lot of questions, and here are your answers. Captain Planet and the Planeteers definitely stands as a timeless icon in the realm of animated television. Despite its unconventional approach and the passage of time, the show undeniably did more good than harm. Its unique blend of environmental education and entertainment left a lasting impact on the minds of millions, fostering a sense of responsibility and awareness about the planet's well-being, which is definitely not an easy task when you think about it. Let's talk about the good. The show's greatest strength lies in its ability to educate while also being entertaining. It tackled complex environmental issues in a way that was accessible to young viewers, imparting valuable lessons about conservation, teamwork, and the interconnectedness of all living beings. The diverse team of Planeteers showcased the power of unity and highlighted the importance of embracing our differences to protect our shared home, Earth. Moreover, Captain Planet's emphasis on problem-solving and critical thinking resonated with its audience and their parents. It encouraged viewers of all ages to think about solutions to environmental challenges, essentially empowering them to become proactive agents of change. The show's positive messages about empathy, responsibility, and the impact of individual actions on the planet made it a valuable educational tool.
And see, that was the cool part about it as well, that which always catered to the whole the power is yours concept, was that they were very much pushing as far as even in the narratives of the stories. In most cases, the kids were figuring out the issue themselves, until they just needed Captain Planet to come clean up something. Oh yeah, well, they already released all this oil into the ocean, we can't fix that, so we got to call Captain Planet. But as far as taking the responsibility and put it in on the actual business owners or villains of that day or whatnot, and teaching the locals and everything on the responsibility of their doing their part and everything, they were gung-ho on showing how the average person can do their part still, even with the superhero of Captain Planet. And that's why it was always so meaningful, and they did really stick to that quote as far as him whenever he broke apart at the end and ended it with the power is yours. It really they meant that shit. That it's honestly a fire meaning in the end of the day.
Especially for children. The creators' commitment to basing the show's storylines on real-world environmental issues only added depth and authenticity to something that would have easily been dismissed as just another superhero show. By weaving these genuine concerns into the very fabric of the show, they made environmental awareness tangible and relatable, inspiring viewers to engage with these topics. But here comes the sad part. While Captain Planet and the Planeteers enjoyed immense popularity during its run, several factors contributed to its eventual fading into obscurity. One of these challenges it faced was the evolving landscape of children's animated programming. As the entertainment industry diversified, new shows and formats emerged, capturing the attention of younger audiences. The rise of digital media and streaming platforms led to a shift in viewing habits, gradually diminishing the prominence of traditional Saturday morning cartoons.
I mean, okay, but streaming platforms and whatnot was definitely not really near when Captain Planet was originally airing. People weren't stopping watching Saturday cartoons, especially not at this point. This is still the it's like the twilight age, I guess, of Saturday morning cartoons, because that's when like it really was starting to see its decline eventually come the early 2000s, mid 2000, but then like yeah, the 2010s, I guess, especially once that's really when like the streaming stuff really started taking over and like people weren't watching cable and all that. But at this point, people definitely were still very much watching cable, public television and whatnot. So I don't know.
Further, some critics argued that the show's approach, which took much more of a teaching or educational stance, characterized by Captain Planet's occasional preachiness, might have alienated certain viewers. While the intention behind the show was undoubtedly notable, to educate and inspire, it did sometimes come across as too moralizing, which could have led to a loss of interest among older children and teenagers. Also, the complexity of the environmental issues tackled by the show, while important and well done, might have been challenging for some young viewers to fully understand. In an era where instant gratification often dictates entertainment choices, the nuanced approach of Captain Planet and the Planeteers might not have catered to the short attention spans of some audiences. In short, children preferred a generic good versus bad story instead of something that was so detailed and topical like Captain Planet. However, while Captain Planet and the Planeteers eventually faded into the background of popular culture, its legacy has definitely endured to this date. Its impact on environmental education and awareness, coupled with its unique characters and imaginative storytelling, solidified its place in the hearts of those who grew up watching it. The show might have faced challenges in the later years, but its enduring message that each individual possesses the power to make a difference continues to inspire environmental activists and conscious citizens worldwide. As a beacon of hope for a greener future, Captain Planet and the Planeteers remains a cherished and influential piece of animated television history. The animation is also cute, and the themes continue to be relevant in today's world. So, if you missed out on this one in the 90s, or you're just a young one who was not born in the time to see it aired on television, Captain Planet is definitely worth a watch. The adventures of Captain Planet inspired generations, reminding us that when we unite for a common cause, we can truly make a difference. Remember, the power is yours. Do you remember this show from your childhood? Let us know about your favorite Captain Planet moment in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Until next time, have a good one and be safe.
Thank you, marvelous video. Yeah, so that was Captain Planet Cartoon Explored, a retrospective into 90s animated world of Environmental Crusader by Marvelous Video. I appreciate it. Shit, yeah, like I said, this was definitely one of the ones for when I was like young to like, not on the verge of not being able to necessarily understand it, but like, yeah, these were like one of the first few cartoons I can like remember ever watching outside of like the Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes and all that, until eventually getting to like the Scooby-Doos and all that as well. We'll end this here. It might be in the same video, we'll see.
Come on.
Hey, all you Planeteers at home. Remember, turn off the faucet between usages and recycle those plastics. Or else, I'll turn you into a fucking tree. Captain Planet, motherfucker.
The power is yours.